Hey everyone! So I've been getting a lot of requests for today's episode as it's long overdue. Since it's now September and school's now in session, it's time to put down the bong and pay attention. This is the latest episode of How to Record Heavy Drums. Let's look at the snare. Okay, I've been pondering how to approach this episode for a while now. There's no quick fix or easy mode when it comes to recording a snare drum. It all boils down to a lot of trial and error. I do things a certain way as I find that's what works for me. Your own experience may differ. But let's start simple here with an SM57. Yes, there are numerous options for recording snare, but the 57 just plain works, and you can hear it as a snare mic on countless records. That being said, if you can afford a few extra bucks, the Granelli 5790 is an even better solution. It's an SM57 with a 90-degree angle in the body, designed specifically for easy placement in a drum kit. Cause let's face it, drummers love to make your life a living hell when it comes to miking up a kit. The Granelli is almost like annoying drummer kryptonite, as it ends some arguments pretty fast. Yeah, his cymbals are still going to be too low, but at least you can wedge your snare mic into where it's supposed to go, despite the fact that he has 7 rack toms and will only play 2 of them, leaving the other 5 maybe to hit maybe once on an entire fucking record. You can also mic the bottom of a snare with a 57 or a small diaphragm condenser, but honestly, I really don't use that mic too much these days in a metal mix. But if you do mic it from the bottom, don't forget to flip the phase or your top mic is going to sound like farts on rice paper. So I like to put the mic at the 10 to 11 o'clock position with the capsule sitting just over the rim. Aim the mic at where the stick is going to hit the snare and away you go. Oh yeah, like it was going to be that easy, I fucking wish. This is where it gets interesting because your snare sound is going to depend on 2 key factors: tuning and technique. Before I go any further, for all of you guys bitching about that D drum trigger, it is to control a gate that opens and closes the snare mic. Check out my Cool Tricks for Triggers video for an in-depth look at that technique. If you're recording live drums, it is a must-watch. For tuning, I've been using the drum dial for years. It's a tool for measuring the head tension at each lug. Equalize the tension across the drum and you're in tune and good to go. Recently, I've been using the digital drum dial, which is great because it's backlit and it's easily viewable. You can even use it to tune your kit in a poorly lit nightclub. Very cool stuff. Here, we're tuning the top head to a measurement of 85.5. So once you've got your snare tuned, it all comes down to how the drum is hit. We're going to demonstrate several different hit techniques. Just to be clear, we're playing a dead simple beat so we can hear what's really going on. First off, we're going to show standard technique, then rim shot, and then finally butt and stick rim shot. Now, I am a big fan of rim shot technique. I remember working away in the studio a number of years ago with this one band, and we were getting this most amazing snare sound, and I'd been looking for this sound for freaking years. I run into the drum room and I'm like, dude, why does your snare sound so fucking awesome? And the drummer says, oh, well, I'm playing steady rim shots, and he demonstrates what he's doing. And after he showed me that, I've been insisting on that ever since for every single drummer that comes in. But I've also got to give a great big shout out to Mr. Tommy Harden, who's a Nashville session ace, for turning me on to the butt end rim shot. It's just got this massive attack, and I'm really in love with the sound of it. And if you look around, you'll see a number of great metal drummers using this technique. I think Mike Portnoy uses it every once in a while, and so does Nick Menza. Like, if you watch the Holy Wars video, you can see Nick Menza playing with that style very clearly. Now, the most common question new guys ask when recording heavy drums is, how do I keep the hi-hat bleed out of the snare mic? Now, I've seen some pretty crazy contraptions for controlling the bleed, but the best way to control it is to get the drummer to hit the snare better. And this is where everything ties together. Your snare mic is arguably the most important mic on the kit. Let's take a listen to the snare mic soloed up with no gate for normal and butt end technique. What happened to all that hi-hat bleed? It's simple. When you play rim shots, especially butt end rim shots, your snare is going to be much louder than it would be if you hit it normally. So that means you need less gain on the snare mic, meaning less hi-hat in the snare mic. And that gives you much more room to work when it comes time to mix. You can compress that mic harder. You can EQ more strongly as well. You just have to get your drummer to stop hitting the snare with his burst. Now, about ring and snare wire buzz. You can really kill the sound of your drum by overmuting it. As a recording engineer, you want to capture the attack of the drum. And well, loading up the drum with too many moon gels or using a muting ring can do more harm than good. Generally, I'll only use one moon gel, if that. And as for snare buzz, just make sure the snare is muted on the tom fills. That usually cleans things up quite a bit. And remember, in a full mix, you will barely hear that buzz anyway. Yeah, it's annoying, it kind of sucks, but it is part of the sound of the drum kit. But in case you are wondering, here's what a high-tuned, choked-off drum sounds like. And here's something with a much more relaxed tuning and looser snare wires. All right, I'll admit that one might need a little more tweaking with the moon gel placement as it's got a bit of a ring, but then again, that ring does really disappear in a full mix. Once again, I stress the key to getting a great snare sound is to experiment and find out what works for you. And bear in mind, it's not just the snare mic that's gonna get your sound. The snare mic, the overheads, and the room mics all combine to give your snare depth and ambience. Check out this clip, you'll see what I mean. The room mics really make all the difference, and that's what we'll be looking at in the next episode. See you guys next time.